good morning, good morning, good morning, LinkedIn. Good morning, happy Friday. How are you doing? How has your week been? If you are watching this live, please say good morning in the chat if you're watching live. I am waiting for my guest, Jude Avery, to arrive. So, Jude, if you're watching this, we're live, so come in the studio. So good morning, everyone. I hope you've had a really good week. I'm joining you from a very bright and sunny Shropshire this morning. So good morning. If you are live, let me know where you're joining from and what the weather's like. So I'm going to be joined by Jude Avery this morning, fingers crossed, who is a young man that I met. I'm going to say about 6 months ago? 6 months ago is when I first met Jude. Jude is an amazing creative, so we're going to talk a little bit about Jude's experience, but we're going to be talking about getting into the creative sectors, which we know can sometimes be difficult to get into. So it's one of those industries where one of the phrases I sometimes use about the creative sector is gatekeeping or gate kept. In terms of creatives, for those that don't know, many years ago, I used to run a film festival, right? As you do. I used to run a film festival, creating a platform for individuals whose voices and whose stories aren't often told. And one of the things that I learned then about the creative sector, and this was film, media, TV, whether you're in front of camera or behind camera, it can be quite a difficult sector to get into. It can be very much about what you know, who you know, rather than what you know. So today we're going to be talking about the creative sector, not just film, but things like radio, television, broadcasting generally, presenting, etc. So if you've got any specific questions about that, as you can see, I'm filling until my guest, Jude Avery, arrives in the studio. But if you've got any questions or any experiences about the creative sector that you want to join, please do drop them in the chat. One of the things that we are going to be talking about, there was some information that that Jude actually shared. That was the inspiration for this session. Jude actually shared a post a couple of weeks ago about some of the challenges of young people getting into the creative sector. And there was a particular piece of research which I will do my best to bring up so that we can talk about it. But if you've got any particular experience in the creative sector, whether you're working in DE&I or whether you are whether you're working in HR or whether you are a creative and you've got particular tips or particular strategies that have helped you, then please do drop them in the chat. You can see I am still filling, waiting for Jude to join us. We'll probably give it 5 minutes or so. And if it's not Jude, then I'll just go off on a tangent and I'll start talking about employee networks and planning for next year, which is actually what I'm going to be talking about in 2 weeks' time. So in fact, let me do that. Let me tell you about some of the future LinkedIn lives that are coming up on a Friday. Next week, surprise, I have got the amazing Mac Alonge from the Equal Group joining me next week. I'm actually going to be doing a mini series talking about the future of DEI. So I'm starting off with Mac Alonge, who runs a consultancy called the Equal Group, a data-driven consultancy. And we're going to be talking next week about the importance of data when it comes to the future of D&I and where this work goes. And then in next year, so in January, I'm going to be joined, first of all, by the amazing Lisa Ardley-Price, who is an ERG leader. She leads, I want to say it's one of the biggest ERGs in the UK. It's women's ERG at NatWest. And I'm going to be talking with Lisa about all things employee networks, but also, again, employee networks in terms of the context of the future of DEI and, you know, the fact that hopefully employee networks aren't going anywhere despite the backlash against DEI. So that's what we're going to be talking about on the 3rd of January. So as soon as we come back, I'm then going to be joined on the 10th of January by the amazing Dr. Purnima Luthra who's joining me from Denmark. So she is very much an academic who has done lots of research in the field of D&I and behavioural change and behavioural science. And she's currently doing an amazing experiment, which is listening to other voices that she wouldn't normally listen to about these D&I topics. And so when I talk to her about the future of D&I, we're going to be talking about, how you tap into other voices in the DE&I space. So we're going to be doing that, which will be amazing. And then the 17th of January, I don't know how I've remembered all of this, but on the 17th of January, I'm going to be joined by the amazing Zubaida Limda, and we're going to be talking about the future of D&I when it comes to Gen Z and the new workforce and socially connecting with others. I can see Jude's literally just popped backstage, so I will pull him on in a second. I'm going to give him 2 seconds to catch his breath. So that's what we're going to be doing on the 17th. And then on the 24th and the 31st, I've got some amazing HR and D&I individuals. So that's what's coming up in January, the future of D&I. But I'm going to grab Jude now from backstage. So Jude, as soon as you come on, you're going to be live. So don't swear. Okay.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good morning, Jude. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I had a few internet troubles, but
Jude, I was thinking then that you're going to be the first guest that hasn't been able to for whatever reason. But
no, I've been looking forward to this, honestly.
That's good. How's your week been, Jude?
It's been a good week. Bit troubling at times, but we'll get there.
Yeah. That's life, right? Life is lifing, as
Very
we
true.
say.
Yeah, it is life.
Perfect. So Jude, I've done a tiny, little bit of an introduction for you. I'm just going to change my audio setup just that it's a little bit better. Okay, that's better. Right. So Jude, just a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into the creative sector.
Well, I got into the creative sector quite young. So obviously I'm part of a younger generation. So from probably the age of 5 or 6, I was influenced into cameras. So I got a little digital camera for my 4th or 5th birthday. And from there I was like, yo, this is amazing. And then we also had like a family VHS, like a VHS recorder as well. So we used a lot of those things. And
so
then
the whole family was really into like recording and capturing
Mm.
life and everything. Okay.
I think because we've got a big family, a lot of the events that we go to, a lot of the places we go to, we'd want them documented so that in the future we can show them to younger cousins, and then we can record our younger cousins, and then so on and so forth. And I think from when I was about 7 or 8, when I was around about into year 2 or 3, I really got into the filming aspect because one of my teachers, she had, I don't know if you remember do you remember the flip cameras? It's like a little flip. We did a project on a flip camera, and I was just immersed from that day. I was like, this is amazing. Where can I get it? And at the time, it was very expensive. Like at the time, it was like £80, which is a whole lot of money now. But at the time, I was like, this is really, really cool. And then I'd say when I got into about year 5, 6, I started to take it quite seriously. And obviously, because I'm a child, not many people are really going to want to have a child do certain things. But I was lucky enough when I was 11, I got the chance to do photography for this kid's birthday party. He was 1 year old, and it was really nice because they said I had an eye that other people never had for shots in certain places, for different types of viewing and how to construct something at such a young age. And because I was immersed a lot with CBBC, I was immersed a lot with CITV, and for a little bit when I used to watch it, Disney as well. And that was just a crazy experience. From there, someone else asked me to do their kid's birthday party. And then I also made like a little short movie with my family. We had like a massive premiere. I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. It was honestly, we had a red carpet in my house. We had like, the billboards you have that had at the Odeon. We had all that. And it was so brilliant. And then when I was 13, I was lucky enough someone did give me a fantastic opportunity to be a runner for the Bex Live Awards, so the Black Excellence Awards. So I was a runner for the
Right.
live stream, and that was amazing. Then from there, I got to do production for the Upper Room UK in Wolverhampton, and I was the like producer for that from 2015. So I was so I was 30 at the time, up until
Gosh.
2020.
Yeah.
And at the start, the lady who did it, Maria, she was like, "Would you be able to film it?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I bought our church camera, did the best I could. I edited it up nicely. I used Windows Movie Maker at the time, and it got a good few views, and that was just amazing. And then afterwards, she was like, "Can you do it again?" I
Wow.
was like, "Yeah, but can I do it a bit more extra this time?" So we ended up having a 3 camera setup, and we live streamed it onto YouTube. And then after that, we hired out equipment, 5 camera setup, live streamed on YouTube, and it was so great to see it come together. And that went from Windows
Wow.
Movie Maker to it then being edited on Premiere Pro. I was like, this is just fantastic. So I went to sixth form at the time, and because in secondary school I never really had a great time with people, because they take the mic, oh, you're doing this, oh, that's so, all of this jargon, and it really did get to me. So when I went to
Yeah.
sixth form, it was the time that I could really come out my shell, and I got the opportunity to I got the opportunity to produce different things for the school. So different showcases, different
Mhm.
performances, and it was just a nice eye opener. And then
Yeah.
from we ran a little radio station at the uni, at the sixth form, and it because of COVID, we never got to do it fully. But then
Mhm.
went to university, and in the time of COVID, I did a lot more research on audio production, video production, just so I could better myself. And I got to
Right.
run Felix Radio CU from 2020 to 2023, and it is the best thing that I've ever done. I got to produce radio shows. I got to host radio shows, and what under like my leadership, we went from not being recognised to helping out with BBC Radio One for Big Weekend and BBC Radio One's Newsbeat, and we won 2 awards: one for my show, Phoenix Radio Unplugged, and one for this live telethon we did from the experience I got from working with the
Yeah.
Upward.
Yeah.
And then we got 6 other nominations, and I was like, to think that I've done that, it's just outrageous.
Amazing.
And I was just, and then after that, it's just been
Amazing.
social media, and it's
Yeah.
just crazy because it's changed so much in
Yeah.
10 years, and I would never have thought that.
So
Yeah,
I mean, and so you've used then a lot of different types of media, right? So you've done like, camera in terms of stills, making video,
yeah,
making radio content, making podcasts, the whole thing.
whole load.
Which is your favorite? Which one do you like love the most?
I'd say if you asked me a few years ago, I would have said video production.
Uh-huh.
At the moment, I'd say podcasting or interviews, because a lot of the things that I like to do is because obviously I play a lot of instruments. I play piano, drums, clarinet, bass, and I'm a big music fan.
I don't know
Yeah, yeah. And both my parents are very musical. So
Okay.
my mom sings, and she also does BSL for. Well, she doesn't do it as much now, but she did BSL for like different concerts. Then my dad's an ex-session musician, so I've just been immersed in music from the womb, basically.
Yeah.
And with my parents growing up in church as well, a lot of the
Yeah.
music, very music inclined. A lot of the family are,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and with what I like is I like to give people, young people, not even just young people. I just like to give people the opportunity for them to speak about their craft, speak about their music
Yeah.
talent, speak about their
Yeah.
acting talent, when in other places they wouldn't get the opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's a big place that holds in me, and I've not
Yeah.
really realized that until this year, last year and this year, and seeing different bands come together. For example, my last show on Phoenix Radio,
Mhm.
two guys came and performed on the show, and they never knew each other, but they both had the same interest in music. And now, a year later, they perform together, and
Yeah.
it's just it's just so amazing to see it all come together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely something about the podcasting format, you know, and the spoken word and whatever. I mean, I'm really into very much into a podcast. And
Yeah.
interestingly, so I shared since you talked about music, I shared on my story on Instagram yesterday. I know are you a Spotify fan? Do you listen to Spotify?
Yes.
Have you
Yes.
had your
Big
Spotify
Spider.
Unwrapped?
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
let
what
me
was
tell you,
your
I was
top?
so happy with it.
What was your? It's just do you know what? So I was before Spotify. I was more Apple Music, but
Oh
the
yeah.
last one I've been all Spotify. So when I saw this Unwrapped thing yesterday, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. What was your top song? Share with me if you
My
can.
top song, I think it was "Isn't She Lovely" by Tom Misch, I think.
Oh wow,
Yeah, I think it was,
nice.
all of them were Tom Misch, which I kind of expected. I think it was Tom Misch. Yeah,
Yeah, my
but that's what I
top
was like,
song
get
was
in.
Marvin Sapp, Praise Him in Advance. That was my top
Oh
song.
yeah, a good one. That is a
Old
good one.
school
Yeah.
classic, right?
Mm.
Amazing. So you talked about you talked about getting into it really young, and obviously your parents being quite creative as well. Is that something that you've seen generally? Because I know obviously you studied this at uni, so you studied
Yeah.
production and all of that stuff at uni. Is that quite common then that maybe people that have gone into that have a real passion for it, that there's something in the family, maybe somebody else is maybe creative or in the arts, or what were your thoughts? I'm just interested.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of it comes down to, I wouldn't say like learned behavior, but it's more
Yeah,
influence. So
yeah.
a lot of my family's very musical, or very very musical, very creative, or very
Okay.
sporty, and I
Yeah.
feel like all very very artistic. And
Hmm.
those categories, I feel like, shape our family. So we've
Yeah.
got some of the family who are actors, some who are presenters, some who
Yeah.
do sports, some who do baking, and
Right.
it's it's all from so many different kind of aspects. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of it does come down to that kind of influence and inspiration. So I think a lot of
Yeah.
it comes down to inspiration. And because
Yeah.
I've got a lot of cousins, we all do so many different things. So some teach, some do IT,
Yeah.
and it's just it's just nice to see a lot of us younger cousins be influenced by
Yeah.
our older cousins, and
Yeah.
it's a really nice thing to
Yeah.
see. Yeah.
And I love that you added there as well. Some teach, some IT, because sometimes we narrow creativity down to, oh, you have to be on stage or you have to
Yeah.
be and I'm gonna comment on Alex's point. So Alex is an artist, so Alex McEwen that's drawing. So sometimes people are like, you have to be drawing or you have to be doing something. Good morning, Alex. I hope you are well. I hope the weather is good for you up north, up in the north in Scotland. So Alex has said, what an inspirational journey. We've got to nurture that early curiosity for sure. People don't always understand career pathways into the
Mm,
creative industries.
mm,
Gatekeepers are so important. Delighted you were given those early opportunities to explore, Jude.
yeah.
100% the pathway is easier if family already involved or have lived experience of the arts, whatever
Yeah.
art form. Yeah,
Mm,
interesting. And there is something about we all, and I know that Alex would probably agree with this. And when you talked about the breadth of the careers in your families and stuff, I feel that like as humans, and I feel like we sometimes forget this, but we were all kind of like, I was talking, so I had Alex on here a couple of weeks, was it last week, a couple of weeks ago? I can't remember, but we were talking about the importance of creating, like it's part of being
mm,
human, right?
yeah.
Creating is part of being human.
Mm,
So really important that you've had that
mm.
opportunity.
And the thing is, when it comes, like you said, when it comes to creativity, it's about a craft really. Out of anything, you could be doing absolutely anything. You could be modding a car, you can be putting zeros and ones into a computer, but that's your craft. Only
Yeah.
you know how to put those zeros and ones. Only you know how to put the little axles, and I don't know cars, so like if you know how to put the motors and axles in the car, you know how to mod your car so it can go fast, it can do this,
Yeah.
that, and the other. And it's all about the craft. It's all
Yeah.
about a craft, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely is. And having that passion as well, having that love of it. When you were describing your sort of almost like finding your early love for it, I mean, how important would you say that passion and enjoyment is in the creative sectors in particular, in terms of getting a career in the arts, say in media and production?
I think it's very important because you've got to love it at the end of the day. I went through a phase in secondary school where, like I said, a lot of people were saying, "Why are you doing this? It's not gonna get
Mm,
you far. It's not gonna do this." And I was like, you know what? They're right. This is terrible. So for about 5, 6, 7 months, I decided,
yeah,
you know what? I'm gonna do architecture, and because I like to see buildings come together. So I
yeah,
looked at architecture schools for sixth form and college,
yeah,
and I was like, this is silly. And then my auntie must have said, Jude, there's a school in Warsaw that you could have a look at. I know you don't want to do media at the moment, but just have a look at it. And I went there, and I was just like, and then from that day, I signed up, and I've never
yeah,
looked back since, because that passion was still inside.
yeah,
Because no matter
yeah,
what people said about it, I'm still
yeah,
gonna do the best I
yeah.
can. Yeah.
Yeah, that was your
Mm,
true love. It's interesting that you potentially flipped to
mm,
architecture, because I see architecture as almost like living at the intersection of art and science.
mm.
I mean, I assume Virgil Abloh studied architecture, right?
I didn't know that,
Yeah,
actually.
he did.
No,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the naysayers, their voices can be very loud. It's true. Yeah.
incredibly.
So yeah. So architecture. Yeah. So Virgil Abloh studied architecture, and a few. I'm gonna say Tom Ford. I think as well
Mm,
studied architecture. It's interesting, and then they move. They make the shift into fashion, right,
yeah.
and drawing, because it's all about
Mm.
drawing and
Exactly that. Exactly
imagining
that.
things
Yeah.
in 3D and
Mm.
everything. So tell us about obviously how did you go about getting into you talked about like the radio things. How did you actually, how did those things come about? How did you get into it, for anybody that's maybe watching and thinking, I'd love to get into like media and production and radio and podcasting? Where would you say they could start?
I'd say the best place to start at the moment is through TikTok. All you really
Okay.
need to do,
I
just grab a
wasn't
mic.
expecting that. It was great.
Yeah. All you need to do is just grab a mic, and if you've got a passion about something, just chat about it. Nothing,
Okay.
nothing stopping you. We're in an age of we're in, so someone said we're at the Windows XP era of social media, because
Right.
it's so brand new and it's so fresh. We need to use it and utilize it the best way we can before everything changes again.
Right.
And I just say, grab a mic. If you love cats, talk about cats. Get cat experts on. You've got the opportunities are endless. Everyone's got a phone.
Yeah.
The quality doesn't even have to sound good. It's about the progression towards.
Yeah.
You can start it on your phone with your AirPods.
Yeah.
Just I'd say just go and do it, and
Yeah.
just enjoy it. Even if it gets 10 views, if it gets 5 views, you're doing what you love, because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, there's a reason why you've gone down there.
Yeah.
You're gonna see that light at the end of the tunnel at the end
Yeah.
of the day.
Yeah. Do you know
Mm,
what? It's really interesting when you said, just pick up the mic and start, whether it's on TikTok or wherever. And so
mm,
obviously, I'm on here and I do this. But the one thing that I found, even like say this morning, obviously, so I had to freestyle for a few minutes or whatever, but just doing this for so long,
yeah,
you are practicing your craft, aren't you? So as you
yeah,
say,
exactly.
just picking
Yeah.
up the mic and starting on TikTok or wherever, it's practice such that when an opportunity does come up, you're kind of, you sort of you know what you're doing a little bit more.
Very true.
You've got a little bit of a body of work to show
Mm,
somebody, right?
And I think the thing is as well, because on TikTok, when you start, there's something called the 200 mark, and that's
Okay.
when you're on the algorithm but not on the actual page. So with
Okay.
my TikTok page, I make a lot of videos about like different EastEnders reviews and different EastEnders episodes. And last year,
Okay.
I was getting, because it was a big Christmas storyline, I was getting 30 to 50,000 views, and I was like, what? But now I'm getting about 400 to 1,000 views. But for me, I'm like, if I was at a TED talk and
Yeah.
there's 3,000 people listening to me rant about who Ian Beale's with, that's 3,000 people. If
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
speaking to 200 people about who Ian Beale's with, that's still 200 people in a room. That's a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
Mm,
love it. TikTok, there's a few careers that have been made on TikTok.
mm,
Absolutely. And I think you're right. You said about it being like the window that we're almost like in a Windows XP era in
mm,
terms of social media. So I think that's really great advice for anybody that is thinking of getting into, media, presenting, broadcasting, acting, whatever. TikTok is a great place to just put yourself out there, and
yeah.
also to kind of to study your craft. Before you jumped on, I was talking about some of the challenges of getting into certain sectors, and I know I was referring to that article that you shared
Yeah.
a few weeks ago in the Guardian, and I was saying as well, I don't know whether we've had this conversation, because obviously for those that don't know, we met on judging day at the Black Talent Awards. I'm going to say I think you were almost like the second person to arrive.
Yeah, I was so early.
You also, which is great, right? Being early is absolutely amazing. But I used to run a film festival, many
Mm,
years ago. I can't remember if we had that conversation. And one of the things I saw about that particular sector was that it could be hard to get into, depending on, a lot of it was about who you know and networks and getting.
yeah.
This is for filmmakers, right? Just what are some of your thoughts around in the industry? And I know you sort of given the advice around TikTok. What are your thoughts about, how you get to the right people in the industry, and whether there are like grants and funding and things like that are available, or and I know that you went the uni route as well, in
Mm.
terms of studying. So what are your thoughts around that in terms of the industry generally and some of the challenges?
I'd say a lot of the challenges do come from being in for myself in the working class industry, because
Mm,
you're seen as a working class. Your parents are only teachers. Your parents haven't
mm,
done this, that, and the third. And I feel like at the moment that is putting a blockage on certain things, and
mhm,
it's making people think, oh, well, am I really worth it? Can I really go into
mhm,
this?
mhm.
But once again, the media aspect is changing. If we look on television at the moment, there's a lot of TV shows which are falling out to different YouTube shows. For example, the Sidemen. They're a big YouTube
Yeah.
page, and they have the I forgot what it's called, but they've got a big football match. Um, and it's at Wembley, and they've sold at Wembley, and that's for a YouTube. I cannot remember for the life of me what the event's
Wow.
called. And then you've got Soccer Aid as well,
Yeah.
who are doing that on ITV, but they're not selling out the same way as the Sidemen would, with their
It's so
charity match.
interesting.
And it's because the Sidemen have a younger look on it. They're thinking these people are from this place, these people are from that
Yeah.
place, and they want the opportunity to be seen. They want the opportunity to raise money for charity. Whereas other places, they're kind of stuck in 1980s, 1990s, where even the 2010s, where the whole aspect was just completely different.
Yeah.
And so I say, oh yeah, when it comes to being in working class, for me, being in Wolverhampton, and for other people who live in Birmingham or just the Midlands in general, I've heard this a lot, and we're considered the forgotten place. I went to a film festival, and this guy was explaining how they've got branches up in Scotland, we've got branches in Manchester, we've got branches in
Mm.
London, and we just forget about the Midlands, and everyone laughed. And I was like, that's not funny, because they've just basically blocked so many people just by saying that. And it ain't cheap to be going up to London. It's not cheap to go up to Manchester. And there's nothing. I'm not saying there's nothing here in the Midlands, but there's not as many opportunities in the Midlands, and
Yeah.
that does put a blockage on when you do apply, and it says where you from the West Midlands. Oh, actually, you'd have to travel quite far. It's going to cost so and so
Mm.
to travel, but that so and so cost for us to travel shouldn't take away from the craft you would have over somebody who lives in London, and your parents know somebody who knows somebody, and
Yeah.
don't have the same sort of energy, the same passion for it, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the whole class thing, that's definitely something that I saw, in terms of within like the film industry,
Mm,
I think people sometimes hear stories of, or such and such an actor that's come from nothing and made it good. And you hear those odd stories, but the reality is, as a sector as a whole, it is quite elitist, certainly in terms
mm,
of the filmmakers, the directors, that and sort of like behind the cameras, it can be difficult to get into. And as you say, the regional thing as well. um Birmingham, oh man, we could talk for days about Birmingham, and it's
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 true.
uh it's focus or lack of focus on the arts.
Mm,
But there is something about, and I think, for anybody that's involved in kind of like work within, local authorities, councils, etc., the importance of the arts in terms of creating cities where top talent want to be and want to come and work at, it's
yeah,
so important.
it
And I
is.
think, for some reason, I think Birmingham has never really kind of,
Yeah,
grasped that, the
yeah.
importance of it in
Mm,
terms of the investment. So I completely get that. But
mm,
again, in terms of what you were saying, with the prominence of things like, say, YouTube, and again, like the social media,
yeah.
I remember I saw something advertised the other day on, I want to say, Channel 4, and it was Munya that's going to be presenting a documentary or something. Munya from,
Fantastic. Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I I've only seen him on Instagram because I'm not really on
Mm.
TikTok,
He's
and I
he's
thought that was
he's
really
big on
interesting,
TikTok.
transitioning, as you
Mm,
say, like the people from social media, whether it be YouTube, etc.,
mm,
transitioning then into mainstream and potentially being bigger, right? So look at
exactly. Yeah.
the Mike Tyson fight with
Very true. Very
whatever he's
true.
called, right? The
Yeah.
guy. Uh,
Jake Paul. Yeah.
Jake Paul, yeah. So some more advice from Alex. Finding an arts award centre in your area, run arts activities for under 25s, normally free. Okay, so yeah, so these different organisations that run, arts or creative opportunities, normally free and with access to industry professional. British Film Institute also run courses and academies free of charge for under 25s. Absolutely. And film, I know that the BFI actually have got they have got like satellite funded things that you kind of just have to tap into. And you mentioned, actually, Jude, you mentioned film festivals. So
Yeah.
as somebody that used to run a film festival, I would say, getting involved in local film festivals,
Mm,
because there are so many opportunities, whether it be, like just literally running, doing the
very
social
true. Yeah.
media, helping out on the night, all of those things can help you then get into, those networks, and kind of then figuring out who the people are. So we're gonna wrap things up soon, but what final tips would you give for either any young person that's watching, or maybe somebody that's got young people in their family that
Mm.
are interested in one of the creative sectors, particularly around sort of like the production, media, broadcasting, etc.? What tips would you want to leave people with today?
I'd say the tips I'd leave are the first one, especially this is for anything you do. Make
Yeah,
sure you really want to do it, because it's a big graft. There's going to be
yeah,
times where you're going to have to edit yourself. There's going to be times where you're going to have to find people yourself. There's going to be times where the views might be low, and you're going to have to say that's the case.
yeah.
That's one thing. And I'd say make sure you're passionate about it,
Hmm.
and do the research into which sector you'd like to go in. Is it podcasting? Is it radio? Is it production? And at the moment, which is taken off as well, is it streaming? Do you like
Mm.
gaming and would like to maybe just make people watch you play games? Look
Yeah,
at
I don't
streaming.
get that whole industry, but fine.
It's so
People
wild.
watching other
It's
people
so
playing games.
wild.
I
Yeah.
don't get it.
For, for example, there's a little sidetrack there. One of the people who did eventually play games, he got invited to the Ballon d'Or, the biggest like footballing event.
Crazy,
And
crazy.
I'd say the last one, just have fun with it. That's the best thing. If you the one thing everybody in life wants to do is wake up in the morning and just be excited for the day. I'm getting ready to do this podcast. I'm getting ready to do IT. I'm getting ready to build a car. I'm getting ready to play sports. Need that kind of attitude, really. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, be excited, be energized
Exactly that. Yeah.
by what you do. Find the joy in it, for
Yeah.
sure. And definitely, you know, for industries where things are challenging, where you are going to face those barriers, you absolutely have to have
Exactly
that
that.
passion for it and the love for it to be able to stick to it.
Yeah.
Jude, thank you so much for
I really
joining.
enjoyed
I'm
just
glad that you were able to to get the technology
Yeah.
working this morning. Good morning, Alicia. I think Alicia might get the last word in. Alicia said it's admirable to see the passion you have for your craft. And Alex, have fun. Great advice. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Nurture your passion.
Very
Thank you,
true.
Jude. Jude, thank you so much for joining us. And if people want to check out your content, just what are your handles on, whether it's TikTok or wherever? I'm guessing you're on. What platforms are you on? I'm guessing you're
Everything.
everywhere.
Everything.
So
So
if people want to check out your, what do you do on TikTok? Did you say EastEnders reviews or something?
yes. Yeah.
I haven't watched EastEnders for very long time.
Funnily enough, I'm making a video in a few days for people who haven't watched EastEnders in a long time, just to get ready for Christmas.
Do you know what? It used to be a big issue in our house, because when my in-laws would come around, or the Outlaws, and something,
Yeah.
they were all really into EastEnders, and I was like,
Oh.
that's the most depressing thing you could ever watch at Christmas, because it's always somebody who's always getting killed off or beaten up or
Very true.
thrown in a
Very
canal or
true.
something.
But yeah, my my
Okay.
handles are on TikTok. It's Jude Avery, so it's just JudeAvery.
Yeah.
And then on Instagram, it's Jude Avery _. And then on YouTube, it's Jude Avery 28. And
Okay.
then I've got a show, like a little show on YouTube called Jude Interviews. So it's just interviewing different artists and different
Nice.
creatives. And hopefully, the end of the
Ah,
month, there might be something coming out. Can't say too much.
amazing.
There might be
Amazing.
something out on there. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Yeah. No, thank you so much, Judy. It's really great to see your energy, and having met you in person, I know, you know, you're just such a kind of like humble and sort of inspiring person to be around. So
Thank you.
hopefully this has been useful to somebody that's watching it as well. Thank you everybody that has been listening live, that's joined us live, and if you're watching on the replay, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to watch this. Thank you, Jude. I will see you again soon. Don't go yet, though.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone,
Thank
for
you. Thank
watching.
you.